What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about South Park Snow Day possibly one more time before reviews and before the game comes out. And I want to be very transparent, by the way, but I want to talk about the length of the game, okay, in this video. So this comes from a friend of mine, Sway. We did a podcast, and he had told me on the Discord there was actually a discussion with an individual. They didn't leak anything. They're not kind of going against the grain. They flat out were able to play the game from beginning to end. Okay, beginning to end. And so I want to make it clear, and I want to also say, so I have a code for this game. I'll be reviewing this game, but I have not redeemed the code. I haven't played the game yet. This is not me like leaking something early. This is this individual saying it. And again, they were just able to do this, right? So they played the game and they kind of went into a little bit of detail. So the first thing they say, 5 missions with 1 boss in every mission, and the final boss is level 5. And then people were trying to break it down, right? Like, well, is each mission maybe like an episode length, things like that. And then he basically just outright said, it took me 6 hours with no cutscenes. He skipped all of the cutscenes. And then there was kind of just a discussion of, only 5 levels, and the kind of back and forth where it's like, well, you're supposed to replay it multiple times. So a few things to say, right? 6 hours if you skip the cutscenes. Now, with cutscenes, there's no perfect way of knowing this, right? Because the guy skipped it, and I mean, I don't know. I didn't play it, anything, but I would imagine cutscenes maybe an hour to an hour and a half. That might actually be too much, to be honest with you, for a game that's 6 hours and you kind of add stuff. I mean, I would say there's probably a range, right? 6.5 to 7.5, maybe in that range. And I'll say this. Let me be controversial. I think that's fine. I think that might scare people. I think hearing a game in 2024 when you're used to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth being 50 hours and Dragon's Dogma being 30, if you just do like the main stuff, Rise of the Ronin being 50, when you hear that, and then you hear South Park is potentially a 7-hour game, I think people might get a little afraid. Well, a couple things I want to say. Number one, it's not priced the same as any of those other games I just mentioned, right? This is half the price of those games that I mentioned. In fact, some of those games, it's even more because it's only $30. Some of those games are $70. So that's number one. Number two, as they mentioned in the Discord kind of back and forth, but I'll give you guys my take. It is a game you're supposed to play multiple times. And I actually talked about this with Sway, on the podcast that we did. I don't know if you would call it like a roguelike, like if it's as deep as like classic kind of roguelike games. But it's a game that changes at least a little, right? Like, I'm sure we'll find out the full impact once we play it, but it is a game that changes a little bit based off of what you pick, the cards, right? As you're going through these missions and as you're going through these levels. So I would not be shocked if the replayability is much bigger than, say, an average. Okay, you think about a 7-hour linear, right? There is missions. You go from point A to point B, you beat a boss, and you're done. This game, I would feel, I don't know this for sure, but I would feel it'd have more replayability than those games just on the fact that your play style depends on what you're picking. And so if you pick different things on your second run, then it's going to change things up a little bit. I would also imagine if you're playing this game by yourself and then the bots, fill in the cooperative characters, versus if you're playing it with friends, that would also add a little bit, right? And my plan would be to play it kind of by myself, especially if I'm reviewing it, right? Play it by myself and then play it with other people. And that's a whole second time, right, that you'd be going through it. So, look, I don't want to come in too big of a defense of a game that I haven't played yet. Look, flat out, even if the game was 7 hours with no replayability, I actually think that would have also been fine. I guess it does depend on the quality of the game, but I would be okay with that. I factually know there are people out there that hate that, and need more time or need more hours, in a game. I get it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I do get it. But that's where I would imagine that replayability comes in, right? And then, again, they say it too. It's going to change depending on what you're picking and weapons and levels and all that jazz. So, again, you can hear my review in a little while. I don't even think I can give the dates or anything, but I'll be reviewing it. We'll be talking about it. I'll be doing videos on the game over the next few days. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for the support on all of these news update-like videos. Let me know your thoughts on the length in the comments, and I'll see you all on the next one.